And this is probably my biggest sleeper pick. We discussed this Friday on TA, and I like Julio Jones as the Falcons MVP candidate over Matt Ryan. I see the cockeyed look
you really believe that.
Okay, hang on. So Matt Ryan became elite last year. All right, he turned the corner. He went from a good quarterback to an elite quarterback. Julio Jones has arguably been the best wide receiver in the game the last 5 years. He and Antonio Brown, I think, would be jockeying for position there. Kyle Shanahan leaves. Okay, who is that going to affect more? I think Julio Jones is still going to get his balls, still going to get his looks. I don't know about Matt Ryan. I think his numbers could go down, but that doesn't necessarily mean that Julio Jones's numbers will go down. Also, I don't look for the Falcons, the Millennium Falcons.
I'm getting them nervous over here.
The Falcons to fall back to the pack. I actually believe in Dan Quinn. I think the Falcons can repeat as NFC champs, but I think it's going to go through the wide receiver.
I mean, you know what? I like that pick, right, because Julio's my guy. I love him, right? But it takes too much for a receiver to get their numbers. You got to have blocking up front. You know, you got to have the right down and distance. You have to have the quarterback to actually throw it to him. It's very hard for a wide receiver to win MVP. And you say that Kyle Shanahan not being there will just affect the quarterback more. I think it'll affect the receiver a little bit more, just simply because of Kyle Shanahan did a masterful job of moving this guy around, creating space for him.
Steve Sarkisian, the new offensive coordinator there in Atlanta. It's hard to produce back-to-back seasons like that. He was the only receiver in the NFL that averaged 100 yards per game was Julio Jones. All right, number 4 on your list is who?
Drew Brees. And I like what you're saying. Wait a minute. Drew Brees instead of Matt Ryan. You just talked about going back-to-back. MVP is very hard to go back-to-back, by the way, for Matt Ryan. Only 3 guys have done it in the last 30 years. So I think we're going to have a new name, a new face. And if it's not Matt Ryan, and if it's not the Millennium Falcon, Dan, then it's Drew Brees. I like what the Saints are doing. I know their defense has been awful. Everybody knows that. But the last 2 drafts, they have slowly tried to piece together some picks, like Sheldon Rankins. When he got on the field last year, they played better. They don't need to be a top 10 defense. They just need to be 18-20. And give Drew Brees an opportunity to not have to go out there and put 34 points on the board for them to win. Also, with the running game, Mike Robb, I think that they'll be able to run the clock a little bit and not have their defense out there as many plays.
You would hope so, right? But Sean Payton and Drew Brees, they kind of got to get out of each other's way and actually run the ball. So that's what I don't know if that's going to happen. I know it sounds good, but they don't run the football. So we'll see.
We'll see.
To me, it just comes down to winning. You got to win more than 7 games, which is what they've won the last 3 straight years. Number 3, a former teammate of one Mike Robb.
You bet. Well, you're talking about winning. Well, running the football and playing defense has been proven in the NFL every decade to win. And that's why Russell Wilson is on this list. I like that they got Eddie Lacy. I like that they've motivated him to trim down. Does Russell Wilson need Eddie Lacy to win? No. To win the MVP, I do think he needs a little bit better running game just to help him out. By helping him out, I don't mean that Russell Wilson's not going to put up his numbers or get his. He will. But the game can't be on his shoulders, and he also can't get hurt so early in the year like he did last year. Let's not forget the tear this guy was on, historic tear this guy was on at the end of the previous year. Getting hurt early derailed him last year. I think this is a strong MVP candidate right here.
Yeah, I think Russell's can always be in the conversation, especially with that defense, right? They're going to win games. That's what I mean. But I don't think he can win the MVP or even be a strong candidate without a run game. He needs the run game. He cannot, again, we won a Super Bowl with this guy playing supplementary football, complimentary football, not the show.
Yeah, sacked 41 times last year, the second most of his career. He was at his best, certainly, with beast mode. Speaking of running backs, you have a running back at number 2.
Yeah, Ezekiel Elliott. You know, our producer, Matt Tanton, saying, Elliott, can you go a little faster in my ear? Fine. This is the fastest guy on my board right here, Ezekiel Elliott. Look, you saw him take the 90-yarder to the house against the Steelers in the screen game. This game right here against the Green Bay Packers, he took over. The only thing I'm worried about with Ezekiel Elliott being an MVP candidate is not the obvious thing that he's not a quarterback. It's that they lost 2 offensive linemen this offseason. That said, I still think he's more integral to their success than Dak Prescott at this point. That's why I've got Zeke Elliott here.
You know what? I agree with you of him being more integral to the offense than Dak right now. But traditionally speaking, coaches in a quarterback's second year try to do more. They try to open up the playbook. They try to put more on his plate to make themselves look good. I see Zeke taking a step back simply because they're going to put more in Dak Prescott's plate.
I'm going to trust Scott Linehan on that one.
I hope so. I hope so. Trust me. I want to run the football.
3 out of the last 4 rookies to lead the NFL in rushing had better yardage totals their next season. So it'll be interesting to see if that comes out to play here. All right. Number one, he's a Packer.
Yeah, hey, these aren't sleepers, man. These are top NFC candidates for MVP, and Aaron Rodgers is number one. You heard Mike Daniels talk about them trying to get him the football more. How can he not be the number one guy on this list? In my opinion, he's in the prime of his career. You know, for a quarterback, it's different than the other positions. It's okay that Aaron Rodgers is entering year 13. A lot of quarterbacks play their best football at precisely this time. And, oh, by the way, he threw 40 touchdowns last year and didn't win.
That's crazy. You know what? Every year, you can just, until he retires, he'll be on the MVP list. That's just how good he is.
He's stupid good. and last year, he had 18 touchdown passes and 0 interceptions in his last 7 games. By the way, very important games.